conference as observers. So these are the leaders of 2 Mind and Life organizations. So can I invite Professor Susan Bao to stand up? She is the president of Mind and Life Institute based in United States. And Ms. Amy Varela, can you stand up? She is the chair of Mind and Life Europe. And these 2 Mind and Life organizations have been really a main vehicle that has initiated and developed further and also continue to facilitate important conversations between investigative traditions coming from the Buddhist and contemplative traditions and contemporary science. So I just wanted to acknowledge their presence here. So what I would like to do is to invite the presenters now to take this opportunity to have as much as possible kind of a conversation, as we have now listened to everybody's presentation. So there's a kind of a integrated view or understanding emerging in our brain now. So you can take this opportunity, each of you, to either pose a question to your colleague or to our 2 senior statesmen here, Professor Lee and His Holiness, or you can take the opportunity to, add further where you thought you did not have enough time and you would like to clarify certain points or elucidate certain points that you made presentations. I will leave that to you. So there are 2 microphones on the table. So if you can, anyone, I would like to now invite you. The floor is open, yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure. Maybe I can
Yeah,
start.
it's on.
Yeah, okay, it will be good opportunity for me. Your Holiness, I really like to know your view from your personal experience and then also the religious. As my question of yesterday, in my presentation, the last page, because you're talking about this, we have this empty space, but I have to put in something randomly. That's what we see in the material we study. When you have a very old empty space and then put in randomly the species of interest, then we get something interesting coming out. Just like Professor Lee said, we are looking for just a space, a room, and then change it and something coming out. So what's your view, from your personal view, of this kind of picture?
Kurang kasan dan di tamche shube kali ya thame tom dele ya tanu kuzuti jakche ri ka shele ya ani duten so ndu kali ya tongcha swebe na tongcha swebe ken sawa ji teje ani namju sawa thyon go dus de za tongcha de tone ya nega chagyo seres ani kanta 창마 딱다 차 딕되니 나 안 콜이야 서버 다 근데 고갑시다 요 말was these are empty space 되게 간다 직 서버게다 남주 돼야 될 개발 침부시 두고 요서 된자 군도네 딱그런다 남배 동반이게 될 상당히 요서 대화차가 매로스 다 동반이게 돈에 남샤시고 그러와 대고
아는 거죠 empty space 시드전에 지단이 그 차라 먹고 셔야로
네
本来那个对，但都是东北去写球了，人家把这个的呢大看掉了。
So in fact, when we talk about empty space, again you have to think in terms of the scale and the framework. So like in this room, we have spaces to move around, so it's an empty space. But then if you probe further, there's a lot of particles still moving in this empty space. So it's not absolutely empty. So the idea of empty space seems to be, adjusted to the framework that we are talking.
다 뒤틀어 가면 레인데 다 그냥 지기 코페지 그거래.
So if we're talking at the level of the atomic level, then, each atom is going to occupy a space. So it's not going to allow another atom to take its place. So there is a kind of a spatial occupation of a space.
자자가 변나 뒤틀어 이해되어 지라 뒤틀어 매딩에게 동선 매나야 연구체적으로. 그래서
간데슬로.
다들 라고 라고직도 공간에서 매나 아니 뒤처럼 그게 칸데 요데 그
나래.
가서 톡이 그 지금도 와
나래.
가서 계시는 시리
나옴.
가서 때에 토면 신세로 진짜지 그래도 와 다 뒤처럼 가지잖아요 그 지지 패시 토토고래 레디네 락베수 그야 고긴 정말 봐
So,
저 뭐 먹고 있어요
so the idea of how empty space plays a role in this physical interaction seems to be a complicated one. So if you look at the atomic level, it is conceivable that the particles may knock on each other, but that still does not preclude the possibility of these particles having the space to move around, to express their existence. So the role space plays seems to really differ.
디션이 되죠. 들이. 안다. 안다 가도 다 실로 내주 장자 셔야 되고 그러봐. 그러봐. 다시 관점 좀 실로 셔야 되고 그러다. 그래서 아주 난게 로스야 되고 또 구두를 쳐도 나서 찬수. 마치 주간이야. 생각 쳐주면 좀 자제 되게 아니 생각 쳐주면 삼루 땅 오르스는 삼루 나로 콜로 콜로 제사가 다가도 칠로 콜로 멤버체 다 삼루 콜로도 고토냐고
So, having listened to all the presentations, these amazing presentations on quantum physics, we were really focusing on the external reality, the materials, the physical world. But we also need to now turn our attention and focus inward. So this reminds His Holiness of one of the attendants from his childhood who would every now and then remind the young Dalai Lama to the importance of contemplation. And he would say that to do contemplation, you have to turn a wheel inside.
자상가 다 안다 가지고 뒤치 셔야 돼. 뒤도는 저요. 뒤도 셔야 돼. 셔배 셔셔야 뭐도 뭐부 셔셔 말다.
Because from a kind of a larger perspective, all of our quest of knowledge, even about the external world, is ultimately motivated by some experience of human experience. And when we're talking about
sentient being.
sentient beings experience, so the experience is really defined by pleasure and pain and neutral experience. Then we are already, the moment we bring the question of experience, we're talking about being, a subjective being, a creature.
As I already mentioned, the Western psychology, they mainly refer sensorial level, not mental level. Then these the feeling of pleasure or sort of
Pain.
Because of pain, related with mental level, not sensorial. Sensorial just bring information. The real sort of experience, mental level. So now I think I already mentioned, you see, because of among the scientists, many scientists, and especially brain scientists, you see, they do not sort of accept the existence of mind,
Consciousness now.
or sixth mind, beside brain. So now, obviously, according to the Indian tradition, and also some Chinese meditator, and Japanese meditator, Vietnamese, Korean,
So we have, cases where meditators are able to remain completely single-pointedly absorbed in a state of mind for, more than an hour at a time.
One of my friend, American, he, you see, can stand still mind,
Single-pointed alone.
or single-pointed mind, and then mind, you see, not attracted, not follow the sensorial sort of experience, just mind. So he can remain there 3 hours. Then when you see he fully concentrate about 3 hours, then some deeper experience also now arise. So these are something living thing, something true, and not just the lo tongdaji kong ji chung de zhi ji chung sa di xiao ma re andaran ga
So we don't need to invoke the stories about great masters of the past that may have lived 1,000 years or 100 years ago, but these are phenomena of our time.
So, and also I think I already mentioned Richard Davidson the
So His Holiness already mentioned the American scientist who has initiated a project to study the Tukdam phenomenon, which is the phenomena of a person remaining in a state that is beyond clinical death, but with the body fresh.
So, and then some people remember past life. Ada nge koyalia, ada American dani, ada kare, the New York ya, the kango chibu shibu shi new chik dollar wada. Karsa timindi.
September 11th.
Ka.
Twin Tower. Twin Towers.
Twin Tower.
No.
쟤는 드디 시시브 미지 아주 보고지 드디 근데 세바 시부직 세바샤도 쓰도.
So recently, His Holiness heard of a case in America where there was a child who can recall quite vividly the experience of dying in the the September 11 attack and the destruction of the Twin Towers.
Among Tibetan also you see there, and some among Indian also. Now later, I think I did not sort of the contract, but otherwise, one occasion I met one girl, I think 6-year-old from Bodhiyala. That girl very clearly remember about past life. So on, there are, I myself, you see, met, you see, some children who have clearly remember about past life. So my own case, I think when I was very young, you see, seems to see there are some memory about past life that my mother told me. Then getting, because older, all this memory gone. That also we can say the very young age, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year, the new brain not yet fully developed. At that time, the vague memory about past life still, because of that, can be more active. Then this new body, new brain, you see, further develop. Then these sort of memory eventually disappear. So recently, I met one other student sitting like young city, Jiang Xingru, Rangi Xingru. So, so lesson in Miranda, Gandan Chenche, Pamachi Umta, Ngade two. And Koran, dealing it just malis, and she would out of our chain. Begay Gandeko Batu, and come up prayers. Any Shazil to the city, that me chonging a conventional le challenge dinner and make she use love. How limited Ratchorisha.
So there was recently a case of a young Tibetan boy who was...
I think it shows that is the Casidua, that Hindu regime had a tooth. Nipista Yosachi Ninja. That young is Tingusa, that we are a robot study.
So there's a case of a young boy who was recognized as the reincarnation of a senior Tibetan teacher at one of the monasteries in Ganden, and was born in Tibet. And actually, as a child, said that I need to go back to my monastery So when they took him to the monastery Ganden in Tibet, he said, not this one. So the one in India. So they brought him, and as they reached the outskirts of the monastery, the boy was able to point which part of the monastery, that where he's from, and also went to the room of the past master, and opened one of the drawers and said, those are my glasses, reading glasses. Did you look at you? About 4 or 5, yeah. And then, so His Holiness was saying that recently he met, now he's a young man. So His Holiness asked him, do you still have faint memories of your past life? He said, no. So I said, well, welcome and join me.
There's no way to preserve that.
The Ngema Tempati Kita Malawanya, Tapshi Yomar West,
That did your. That I think worship some my friend meditator. When they meditate, the single pointed way about the mind, sixth mind, then gradually the grosser level of mind become
thoughts. They dissolve, yeah.
more weak. Then the some sort of memory about past life. Then sometimes you see appear. One of my topuchi when you're trying to do it, chabere. Crossang, could you be much crossa? Ka.
Kalurumsi Marwas.
Ka. that go chan ming chan to khau chi o da ka khong nga jin sa ka mar
Kujo Pago Marwa. Boga Marwa.
mar chen o da ada diring a zo di da di gen da nga zo lama chi ge ko ju lama ka sa phe ko na chi yo cho so jo phe ja zhong ya chen gu ru chi ge gyang la re yao zhi ke du xiao jiao ye nin je xiam ji ge lo ma re你怎么说这个？个俺那边他了，这一年个人的这个人，哦，真的啥？你们根本就不让这个这些都讲，第一讲掉呢，这就这个那边这个人接触起来呢，这台湾首先是这样，真的是俺里呀，讲了都老带着在呢，叫俺们采用个啥？加上我，个老多是不给。가서 보게 내셔 땜부체 애니 라벨로디 배 대바 숙차고 쉬우시지 미주 쉬었어 대바 숙차고 쉬우시지 인도산에 로라버트제 또 스마 숙초는지 된지기도 하네 차열로디야도 내용도 애니 경험을 전도시 그런 항상 하대 그 지금 아시고 말이
So His Holiness, one of his friends, a colleague, a Kagyu master, I don't know. So one of his colleagues, a close friend, a Kagyu master, shared with him that, once in this person's meditation, he was able to go very deep into a meditative state, inspired by the recollection of the kindness of his guru, and that led to a very devotional experience in his mind, which then allowed the mind, the everyday mind, to really kind of, still and quieten it, and then. After that, when he was able to remain single-pointed on this, it's as if the grosser thought processes come to kind of, quieten and remain still. Then there were moments he could actually have, some memory, kind of, glimpses coming from his past life. So he actually shared that experience directly with His Holiness.
Yeah. He very honest. So I don't think he would
tell
a lie.
No.
Otherwise, some lamas, there is danger to telling lie.
Okay. The cover there, is it on? Can you? Yeah.
Your Holiness, I have 3 questions, 1 from me and 2 from friend Miss Lai. The first question is that this few days we talk about a lot on this superposition principle. So I was curious that when you do meditation, I mean analytical meditation, does this quantum physics viewpoint help you to do, making this a meditation? And the second question is that this meeting, do you think the meeting reached the original goal you expect? The third question is that after the meeting, do you have any suggestion to, or expectation for this Chinese scientist community? Okay, that's my 3 questions.
좋습니다. 당부디다는 quantum 기톤에 다시 해봤다는 가서 니만 가시 주시오르바. 이 quantum 기톤 저때 양고전 랑게 냠 가다 냠시 나로리아 제공 못들이야 믹스 투벤 소유나 맨나 간데 대원 가다 차이고 나서죠.
My daily sort of practice is meditate on shunyata, 공신.
Emptiness. Yeah.
That's a very important part of my meditation. And then altruism. 딱한다 벽에 actually 동력 다다 장주 셈다 내배 냠ling 티리. 전에 간다다 주사한다. 남시人生没뭐 직접도 전진 밀로 통 3년에 니시 유진 전다 근증나 대세다 잡아서 와서 성 리로리도 찍었다. 라라브라 야마다.
So the heart of my daily meditation practice really consists of 2 main themes. One is the cultivation and deepening of my insight into the teaching on emptiness, the shunyata. The other one is the cultivation and the further development of altruism, the bodhicitta, which is the aspiration to attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings, grounded in a universal compassion. So those are really the 2 main, focus. So with respect to emptiness, there is an important passage in Tsongkhapa's short text called 3 Principal Elements of the Path, where Tsongkhapa talks about how when you reach a point where without, interruption, if you are able to recognize the essential empty nature of whatever you are observing with a simple awareness of their dependently originated nature. So in other words, the mere perception of the phenomena as a dependent phenomena, dependently originated thing, immediately give rise to the awareness of their essential empty character. So at that point, the analysis, the path of analysis, the journey of analysis has reached its culmination. So His Holiness was saying that he feels he's getting there, so getting close to it.
다 들이인데 샤 나외 요다세스다. 다 간돌다 간다다 태랑기 그 따와 차라전다 가정 건지 차라요. 다 저지 쉬우지 내가 저버려샤. 사이네 그게 능두니네 그 시선나오는 시 때문에 사무직이 성능을 내가 전도 와. 그 땡지 밀로 통연도 전에 다 가다 시한다 뜨는 저 마도 랑가 좀 되는 지. 다 디시도 패는 지기요래. 아니 유로 가르슬라나 다 대남식대 남제 제배 남도이 뭐 문신 대대션도 주고 지금 작별관에 여가 있어야 돼. 다 민성 다송사고 딱딱한 로디기도 와.
So
다디 다하스 디께서 말해. 지기 떠르고 계시고 말해. 다 되게 뭐서라. 아니 취미식 남도 돼야 돼. 가서는 걸어봐. 컨퍼런스스터네 취미식 남도 돼야 돼. 그 숙총주의도지. 다 세지부터네 같이 통제요래. 저다 진행인데 최첨지 나왔다도 전기 뭐냐 준매도 버지 타 쇼인도 전에 지 취미식 남도디 숙총도 되게디 로데도 디슈 출심의 경기 차단 걸로 디디 숙총주의와 서비스하래 Any chakdang gain is an ekanda, charging nga sag, nganzingo shuksham shujari. The nganzingo cho nine, nganzi gocha shung cho nidua. Damido with diaton, some stein is an echo nganzin jikshu. Any Dr. Shenji to me, the Yanda Jawa Majano, any corn, Sanji to me, corner, there were mentioning, touching Ranjin, some down in Luzane, Courier, Sagoloto, Shuksung Rotato. Should do.
So,
Just on them, you go, Use, sinking Sigari. Now, Ume Tawada, Jujun Sung Sheve, Takin Chanjuk Nibuti, sinking Shevina, Tende.
So earlier I forgot to point out one fact that is also citing from Tsongkhapa's text, which involves the idea that when you reach the culmination of your inquiry, then all basis for objectification comes to an end. Because we have a tendency generally to grasp at things, to seek something that is congruous, something that is out there. But when you reach the culmination of your inquiry through the logic of emptiness, there will be no basis left at all for objectification. So now, all of this, then Tsongkhapa goes on to say that when you have that kind of understanding of the world, then the very world of appearance will remind you of their essential empty nature. Because in our naive, realistic view of the world, we tend to believe in the apparent world. We tend to go after the appearance. But through this kind of, analytic thinking, you come. Okay. So then you immediately recognize that there is a. So normally we chase after the appearance. We believe in our perception, but with this kind of logic, you immediately, the moment you perceive phenomena, you immediately are aware that there is a disparity between our perception and reality. So you don't believe in the appearance. So in this way, the appearance itself reminds you of their essential empty nature, so that the appearance and reality really come to be united. So there is, no gap. And the power of that is then it will really help you sort of, undercut the whole psychological process that normally give rise to our negative reaction to phenomena. Because generally, if you examine when we relate to the world, because of the fixation on some kind of objective or reality out there, we tend to grasp. And this grasping then give rise to false projection, false kind of, conceptualization. And this false conceptualization involves attributions of, quality on the phenomena, which then give rise to our reaction based on either attraction or repulsion, manifesting in the form of attachment or aversion. And then it opens up the whole chain. So whereas if you do this, process of thinking through emptiness, you remove the basis for any false projection and false conceptualization, which then, leaves no basis for the strong emotional reactions to arise. So that really seems to be, so in this context, at least with relation to the physical things, quantum thinking will really help. Because quantum will, mechanics picture of the world will show that the physical world is more complex than we tend to naively assume. So therefore, less basis for grasping. So in this area, as some scientists point out, there is a possibility that it can lessen your tendency to grasp. So, and it will be really helpful. So now, what you need to do is you need to combine that with bodhicitta practice, so generally what happens is that a lot of our problem really comes from strong clinging to a notion of self, I. And there seems to be two ways in which you can undermine this, knock at it. One approach is the emptiness approach that we just spoke about. The other approach is really to look at, how self-centeredness leads to all sorts of problems, and how we open up our view and perceive others in a different way. So this is all the teachings that we find in Shantideva's Bodhicharya Avatara. And if you sort of that involve meditations of exchanging and equalizing self and others. So if you combine the emptiness, practice with the practice of, exchange of self and others, which is an altruism practice coming from Shantideva's text, then you really have a powerful practice.
자상가 지신난가 잡았던 저 지신 내죠. 지시다니 내죠네. 저도 소셜사이드다. 네 물론자 쏘다 들이. 아니 로제주고 저불 매버자네 가 못튀니. 그링 샹다 샤버즈랑 네 판도시 되그리.
So, and therefore, in his own daily, everyday practice, one of the most powerful sources of inspiration is the following passage from Shantideva's text, where Shantideva makes the aspiration that as long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, may I too remain to help relieve dispel the sufferings of the world. So, in this particular verse, has a tremendous power of inspiration. So therefore, even though if the scientists are right and the world is going to, the humanity is going to disappear from this particular planet in 80 years, but there are other universe systems, and my hope is that I'll be in those universe systems still serving the needs of other sentient beings.
야, 나게 너 유직이 와다. 개구로 소리 떠서 이 하고 싶어서 가서 직시. 야가 좀 해봤어. 때려도 왜 쓰기? 어디? 때려도 왜 난게 즉 때는 중에 주진이 타다고 하는 미든시. 릭선 되는 근처에 마와라는 회배죠. 사셔봐. 개구로 소리 자 가리야 돈이 따와를 받지. 그게 돈안 레야 돼 개구로 소리 거든이 빼거든 전부이 자외요. 차례 할 레벨 제 개인가 디스부시든기 때는 중에 교수 이제 타다와라 믿으시 릭선되는 근육이 마와라나 매배 교수는 소야디 때는 중에 교수 이제 타다와라 믿으시 선사디 꼭 하고 싶을 없는 숨기 저상가 나가 당연히 과대도 말다 다 배질로 동이 다 삼다는 로든주 신샤 다 개 가서 그게 난된체네 지 니지신도 다 동이 삼다 전다 배질로 없으시면자 지도다 어떻게 해야 돼 넘시는 저 버지 던데 물로 통해서 이게 진짜 군징을 사디 과로 거를 인도잖아요 디 강에 주는면도 다 안돼 가사 때는 중에 교생지 아니 때네 시선에 아니 찬다 가래 땅도 쓰세 중사되기 찾아드세 저장가 동번이 있어야 돼 고불로 주고 타전 송사를 대신적으로 주면 수신이 가사 고불로 대신적으로 주고 되는 동번이도 시 되는 때에다 와도 되니 우면 라면은 송사다 되기 사 쉬르셔 생각이 시도 쪼쪼치긴 되었다 다 아든가 고음시라 요말이 심지식이 공론수의 개면도가 다 공론매상 제식이 요말이 실제식이 공으로 걸어주는 천들을 졸람 토명에서 뭔가 저렇게 요다 그래서 돈이 공중 토에 있는 졸람 토고 봐 대지 졸람 자주고 선 배시 걸어 요래 저들이 인도 대지 졸람이
So this reminds His Holiness of one of his attendants at a very early age who was assisting him in his studies, in the philosophical studies, and a particular person by the name of Ngudup Sonyi Tsenshab. He was really, the most important person at the time with respect to, awakening interest.
Inner Mongolia, his native place is Abak, part of Inner Mongolia.
So he was
top scholar.
So he was the person who really made a huge difference in awakening in His Holiness, a deep interest in Nagarjuna's philosophy of emptiness. So this, Geshe, a scholar, used to say, he would cite a passage from Tsongkhapa. There is a praise to the Buddha for teaching dependent origination. The passage says that the statement that, because of dependent origination, one will not fall into any extremes. And this is the truth that you have taught. And that is the best way of praising the Buddha. So that is the passage. So I'm just paraphrasing the translation. So, and Ngurup Tsonyi would cite that passage and tell His Holiness when he was young, saying that the first two lines, it's a tough one. I still can't get it. So His Holiness was saying that, so over a period of 60, 70 years, since he began taking serious interest in Nagarjuna's teachings, philosophy, and now, when he remembers that statement and looks at that particular passage, he could boast and say, that doesn't seem to be that hard now. So, the sondu de toma miyu gongshe da miyu tup to shonyo nas ne sumba de maung bal da ne ba gari tsenrib zolya turur karyo nas.
Very good.
So I'm the second question and third, yeah.
Now, like the importance of environment, as you explained this morning, very detailed, and then also the other speakers. Now, these are, I think, it's very important. You see, some kind of warning, not a political reason, but as a result of study, investigation, give some kind of warning. Very good, very useful. Now, one thing not very clear, that is a quantum, the person who truly believes, you see, nothing exists as appears. You see, that some sort of the impact in our the touch to some touch to never than Chadang Lokia, Della, Shun Senti, and to Dawsanda, could she take a.
So, one thing that from His Holiness's point of view, we would like to see further kind of discussed is the impact one's understanding of the quantum physics might have on one's perception of reality and its implications for one's tendency to look at things in black and white terms, sort of our tendency to be absolute in relation to things.
So that part reserved for future discussion.
Yeah.
And then, as I already mentioned, you see, the scientists from the West, wonderful, really wonderful. But then, you see, their whole culture is very much related with concept of God, creator. In Asia, not that. See, something, some sort of Indian tradition clearly mentioned self-creation. It's no creator. So therefore, all the responsibility is on your own shoulder. So training of mind becomes very important. It is not sufficient just to pray as a Buddhist, pray to Buddha, Buddha, Buddha. Buddha himself, so
Buddha himself made the following statement, that the Buddhas don't wash away the negative karma of sentient beings, nor can he transplant his own realization in others. It's only by showing the truth that he himself have found to others, he can lead them to freedom. And then Buddha also made the statement that you are your own master, you are your own savior.
So training of your own mind is the key thing. So many Tibetan and some Chinese also, you say, Amitabh, Amitabh, Amitabh. All responsibility put on, because Amitabha. Oh, Amitabh, Amitabh, Amitabh. Many Tibetan also, you say, Kunjo Chen, Sim Chongda Sha Kishkim Hache, Kunjo Rangachi Nangi Kunjo Chen Savage.
So same thing with Tibetans, they often give the impression that they place all their trust in the 3 jewels as if they don't have to do any work themselves.
Like that. So this, I feel, is more easier discuss with Asian scientists. You see, your mind in deeper level, not fixed, creator, absolute. I think yesterday I mentioned the Father Wen called Losung.
Father Wen,
One, my great friend, Catholic monk, Father Wen, now no longer passed away. So, and many occasions we discuss about, you see, how to develop compassion and also understanding impermanence. These things is common. So we discuss. Then one day he asked me about the emptiness, Kungxing. Then I respond, don't ask that, that is not your business. Oh, because you see, according to the Kungxing, nothing independent existence. That theory might hinder single-pointed faith, creator absolute. So I stop. Don't ask that. That's not your business. Like that. So that is
For Asians, this is not an issue. Quran conditions, no?
And then also, one time I asked Father Wayne, if you accept previous life, what is the rule?
What is the, theologically speaking, what is the problem?
Then he said, no, you can't. Because this very life created by God. So you see, in deeper level, you see certain religious sort of concept, you see little differences. According to theistic religion, creator. The non-theistic, no creator. So it makes differences. So I really very much enjoy talking or discuss with Asian scientists. Really. Our talk, even I think, help, you see, to reduce the conviction, Amitov. Deeper.
So then that's not a problem. It's okay.
I do have a question.
Oh, yes.
When I was young, my mother asked me to kill the chicken for the new year. So I have to give the prayer. So I'm sorry that you are going to die, but hopefully next generation you are born in a rich family and will have a better life. So I have to repeat this, and every time because my mother didn't want to kill any chicken, so I have to do it. But my question is the following. You believe in the previous life and the next life. Is that important for humanity to survive on the surface of Earth? If 1,000 years later, a monkey take over, or other species take over, would that concern you? Or is it important for humanity, human being, to continue to...
These are, no, I think we are not talking just this world, this planet.
So multiple world systems, according to Buddhist cosmology, in fact, talks about countless world systems.
结果가야도 마음으로 있었는데. Did subject what
So this reminds His Holiness of a senior monk from the Namgyal Monastery. He was the ritual assistant, and as he was beginning to hear more about the modern reality and the contraception issues and so on, so one day he shared with His Holiness, he was a little concerned. He was saying that it looks like the chances for being reborn as a human is getting less and less because people are using contraception. So His Holiness was saying that his thinking was just too narrow. There are other world systems.
저분은 용서 동 사수네. 가서 현재 예요.
So even if our current, present universe come to an end, there will be other world systems.
Yeah.
그래서 뚱니 주도 시험에는 찍어요. 통화도 한번 찍어서
친부통문이야.
가. 그래다 근데 통화도 타면 되지.
탐험해버리려면.
저자가 드디 인도산에 다디 심지어 세베 다 가고 싶어래. 심지어 저자고 지 타이 계획 다 용도래. 다 심지어 지용 시험에 있나? 전다 장면랑 자기면랑 저러 봐. 다들 자기면랑 가르쳐 줘버려서나 지도 거버 근전이 야마다人心都 어디가 왔다.
So from the Buddhist point of view, actually, not only is the universe systems understood to be countless, also sentient beings is understood to be countless. So we can speak of a beginning of a life, an end of a life, of a specific, life cycle, but one cannot speak of the beginning and the end. So it's a sort of a countless systems.
저자 점림 타셔는 뭐.
So there's no
통화의 요마 다 요마로.
So there is no
강사
beginning.
제자고 지금 다 셰투.
So there is no beginning when it comes to universe, and there is no end. One can talk about a specific universe beginning and end.
So
근데 먼저 이제 류입에 그도 지금 해외 급 입에 나올이야. 통화 매스 콜.
Laril,
그러 통화 타면서.
tamam,
Sure.
tamam.
가.
Larim.
So when you see the global warming, which hurt the poor people for the next generation, then I would say that we should do our best to prevent giving such a difficult time for the poor people in younger generations.
그래.
But in the long run, on the other hand, you talk about humanity will disappear. And lots of people said, who cares? Dinosaur disappears. Humanity might disappear also. So there's
God will take care.
so there's some discontinuity between protecting the next generation and then what happened to the foreign generation.
가자.
디토네 간다. 디 고유의 내수 돌아 삼시당 백갑에 초진 우주기 잡시 무지 많이 받디
데려.
로봇체
데려.
개침 차고로.
데려.
야 야채선 사면들과야 포장을 붙는 시행들과 남시질이야 로미 참만 매부 차야
데려.
시행들과 디양 급가 실이야 총계도 버치 견다도 버치 통하기 따주 연구도 섬미가실.
Every sentient being, you see, they have the mind. With mind, feeling there. So, joyful feeling and unhappy feeling there. That's the really mover. Whole evolution take place because of that. So, around soya.
For survival.
Oh,
Yeah.
those are evolution.
So this is how evolution of life is driven.
So therefore, the every sentient being, you see, loves or loves their own life, love to oneself. So therefore, the insects, they have not much intelligence, so they do not know their long-term consequences. But only human species, this special brain. So we have the ability to think century after century or millennia. Right?
Millennium.
Like that. So then, see some of our way of life. And once, because of the single-pointed, short-sighted, just a material development, and not much concern about consequences. So therefore, now, like you and those scientists I already mentioned, you see, make clear if present sort of situation goes continuously, or we will face some extra problem. Then now, poor people, richer family, they have all facility, air condition, everything. Poor people very much depend on just nature. So the world temperature increasing, then these poor people suffer most. Richer family, in any way, they can manage. So the gap rich and poor, not only morally wrong, but practically also source of problem. The majority are poor people. So if the majority really face some problem, then few handful, the billionaire or millionaire, they also suffer. So therefore, we need a sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings and concern about 7 billion human beings. If we really, you see, take care about 7 billion human beings, as human brothers and sisters, I think much problem, including ecology, these things, can reduce. So century old, we only, you see, think oneself and their family, their community, their nation. Like that. So these things are not creation of nation, but creation from here. So we have to talk more about here,
Yes,
not external things.
I agree. I'm also curious. You smile at me, so I smile at you. And my wife will be happier when I go back home. She said, well, now I can smile better after you meeting you.
Actually, one sort of story. Called me 가서 아무 체리우치 아메리카 체리우치. 그 남주로라고 예스.
Paul Ekman. Paul Ekman.
그래. Paul Ekman.
Yeah.
나도 내 투니 그 지금 가서 나와 가시는 롱천을 나면 쳤어. 그래 아직도 저 60씩 가려서 그도사.
So this reminds His Holiness of a story of one of the very senior scientists in America. He's an expert on emotion by the name of Paul Ekman. So Paul had participated in one of the Mind and Life dialogues, and at that time he interacted with His Holiness, and he generally had a problem with anger, the regulation of his anger. But he said after that 5-day interaction with His Holiness, he went back, and for about an entire month he did not lose temper. So his wife was very impressed. So, you have really changed.
That's great.
대대 뭐지 해요래다. 미션 부수도로 지금 여지나 땅 가서 대 지금 옷을 대대 걸어. 직대 신하시아서 지금 암라시아서 게 매도 쓰잖아요. 대대선 편 같아.
So that's true, because sometimes, people tend to get so caught up in their own anxiety and stress, which is focused on a very narrow view of their life. When you are able to participate in an experience like this, where there is a genuine openness, a space is created, and when you get an experience where you let down your guards, you don't have to be hyper vigilant and be stressed, that experience really opens up a possibility of experience.
all the 미직육 두시디 터는
And all of this, His Holiness was saying, he would say, arises from a recognition of shared humanity.
If you smile at the dog learn how to smile back at you.
The kilpa the zubachebena, zubatembena, king on it to smile to a tapshi yonasit.
그래서 개무게하다 개가 버데 이니 슈구유구다 ninja.
So I don't think they're capable of smiling, but they will really wag their tail much better.
And then they licking.
And then they lick, they
Yeah.
lick.
Very beautiful.
Yeah.
I think except the mosquito, I don't know whether they have the ability to show appreciation. So many times I expressed this one time, Oxford, when I talk in the front line, professors, many professors there. I asked them, which level of
What
brain,
size? What size of brain? Yeah.
which level
Not it.
brain have the ability, appreciation? So nobody answer. So the reason is, like a mosquito seems to say no ability to appreciation. Other animal, yes. If you show affection,
Affection.
they also respond.
Yeah.
Yes? 딱 가려 안
So,
거기.
no. So I think unless you have a question, yeah, you've been waiting there.
Yeah, as a researcher, and if we wanted to conclude something, we always need to repeat our measurement using different samples and even using different techniques. And finally, we can publish the work. But for this work to be recognized, then it has to be repeated by people, researchers in other countries. Okay, so your examples about, say, past life, something is very interesting, but I just don't know how to repeat this type of evidence, and so that we can make this a very rigorous statement. So can you comment on that?
Tsering tona shebe na Quran so that jeba truptun ji yuna truptun di that tsering tudem na parja urwa de parja bala ya review chinyen digi and dana de jeba chebe thalam thege to ne jeba chebe na truptun ji wen yege yu ma we da repeat cheko the repeat ma chena ku evidence mun jin chi yo marwa kyar de che ma to be na 지기 녀바 녀소 랍참 지고 뱅겨 말 신다 저거 제바 제베나 좀 다가라 녀고 그거 봐 대사 더 리피트 제고 뒤가라 근데 내가 또 안에 텐당 문제 제제 좀인데 참아 지게 걸어왔어 단데 다 세리로 나 제베나 단다 정부 제가나 얘기 개원같이 그 용어 되기디 돈 어제 제베나 아니 책 돈에 세제 세리 그다 텐다나 신기 루트에 탐음되네 가려요 나서 탑람 가려요 나서도 다지 프루프다 되려나 야 고미도 직 이제 제야다 도나체들 개발도 그랬어
다 지도 서로 또 자셔보다 그러나 지리지 감디 가설려야지 동백개와 차백개와 내백개와 집백개와서 열어
그래
다 도신 시전에 왜 심지어 타협이 다 직다 간다 이해되고 직다 디도도 쉐이드 전에 탈 파파 또 이전에 배지 변나 강버지기 미시 강버디는 되게 미시 예배 있잖아요. 그 강버지가 어려다. 재산가 뺀진 잡으르지. 강도 긴줄기 샘센지 예배 있잖아요. 디지둥 레기 왕게 단 점물인디 차. 너지인디 차. 다 디도 선 상무시우 단 직지주잖아요. 아니 가다 가서 우리 그게 심지어 통화매도 다류 통화매도 말아 봐. 다 된제기 더네니 깨워 통험해보다 대주체의 폐지 줍도 그래. 다가는 신경수다 깨워 정해요래. 진짜 연구요래. 간다지 깨워 것이 캐만하나 야는 지도가 법도 그래. 야는 규미 게임을 좀 시작하래. 진짜로 리뷰도 와. 사카서 연구해서 저제다. That's something possibilities. 가시 주어이나. The possibility 매를 거도 잡아나 gendu yodo bisi. Di chayin zane ta gendu nyung di possibility ta kenan shawro.
So in the classical tradition, the proofs for something like the pre-existence comes from many different angles. One of which is the larger picture of the evolution of the world systems that we spoke about today, that how universe goes through a period of emptiness, then formation, then for a long time it remains, and then destruction, then repeats the cycle again. So from the Buddhist point of view, all of these universe systems are connected with sentient beings who would later inhabit these universe systems. Then the question is, how do we understand the evolution of life or evolution of consciousness, which is the defining characteristic of sentient creature? Then you have two choices. One is to say, go to the theistic route, to say that everything is created by prior design, or go to the other route, which is to say it just comes spontaneously. There's no reason. Both of these possibilities are fraught with logical problems. So then the conclusion is that one needs to at least account it on the basis of a causal principle. And then you look at what the causation is. And so it's a sort of it's a cumulative, approach, which really is seen as a proof or evidence.
So that the 계지 그 직배다니 그다 그 주주 요즘에 그 계지 직이 어렵다. 저는 결론이 가서 무슨 럽사리 천지진다 년龄이 주. 자 친구 아니 뒤 참을 내게 되지 그 년龄 샤고 요인지잖아요. 너무 동네 너 지금 마셔봐 바라리 있네. 스페이스 파티클 도와. 너 지금 차야. 대 균을 토마샤도 말해. 그 제균서를 시험이나 토마샤도 말해. 그냥 아주 류드 샤샤네. 그 디제주 참여가는 집에이나 동백 개별 그도네. 아주 다다한테 다다한테 류드 주야기 년龄이 그 두준이 예브래. 토마샤도 말해. 자, 전인도 나 셰바세야 돼. 세상 릭스고 등이 숙지면 되지. 도와다대. 나디 그 교주야래. 집에 다니래. 그 교를 때는 영어래. 근데 인도 년龄이 주다 해지해진이 주스. 다 년齡이 주 상당히 그 릭스고 좋아라. 또 상당히인데 시바로 토마샤나 녀려래. 근데 수정이 쉬어 토마샤고 주나? 애는 그 주민이 좀 쉬어래. 딱배줄 좀 쉬어래. 애는 양은 군조 서비스. 애는 여음에 뵙게 메다뵙게. 애는 가서 누리 견신 견송던 셔고도.
So now with respect to, say, the physical body, we know from, so from the Buddhist point of view, the body that we have, if you trace its origin, even though this body was born in this life, but the physical composition, the element that compose the body, you can trace it all the way back to the beginning. So from the Buddhist cosmology point of view, it's the period of empty stage where there are space particles. So there is no beginning, even to the physical continuum of the body. Then when it comes to consciousness, now, and
at the time, there's a whole universe, one particular universe, completely disappear. The space particle there. So today's our bodies, so subtle level continuation already there.
With respect to consciousness, then yesterday we spoke about, as part of the causation, you have causes and conditions. Conditions are commonly shared.
now today, the Guruji's knowledge become limited. The student of ancient Indian Guru, including myself and many monks, over 10,000 monk students here in India, and also Tibet, I think several thousand carry study these things. Not just read once one book, not that way. You see, over 20 years, rigorous study. So now today, in a way, unfortunate, your chela become
Your student now.
more knowledgeable. Guru, not much knowledge.
So I think on that note, we will probably close. And I would like to invite our senior statement, Professor Lee, to make your final thoughts that you can share with us. And then after that, I'll invite His Holiness to offer some concluding remarks.
Well, the last 3 days, it's been a wonderful experience for all of us. As we know, scientists look at the evidence and try to do many things and see whether it's true or not. But as His Holiness said, sometimes time continues. So you want to repeat experiment, like repeat the experiment that you are in existence. You have to trace back time to set the initial condition. It's not there. You won't be able to prove that you are here. And I did open my mind quite a bit coming here, because when we talk about quantum effect, we take a matter. All the matter have wave natures, except when the particle becomes smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, then the wave nature starts to show. So quantum mechanics is needed to describe the law of those motions. A heavier particle, wave nature is not important. So classical physics, classical mechanics is sufficient to do it. And of course, in the human body, it's a big classical things. But every molecule is a quantum mechanically manipulated, operated. So there's quite an interesting transition. And I still have lots of questions about the mind, because many of us are so-called absent-minded professor. The mind is separated somewhere.
absent-minded professors
So the first day when Your Holiness asked me, do we believe in the separation between brain and mind? I said, yes, I do. And sometime at home, I do the dishes. My wife cook, I do dishes. And I start to wash the dish and I forgot what I was doing. I was washing 10 minutes, 20 minutes, still washing. Then my wife come in and said, absent-minded professor. And so there's something in the mind. I do believe in what you said. Recently, they are twin, exact twin. They dressed a similar way, and artificial intelligence could not distinguish two twins. But mother come in and can tell immediately who's Mary, who is Susan or something. But scientific equipment could not do it. Take the picture, all the same. And there's something about the human interaction that is beyond, which appear on the surface. And I once was in China, going to Great Wall. Foreigner has to pay more. When I was working with my friend, I didn't say a word. He looked at me and said, "You're a foreigner." I said, "Why?" He said, "Those who are born here will not hang such a silly smile." And so I think what he said was right, but somehow our silly smile shows that it's not related to the environment,
local, yeah.
that situation.
단데 가다 야 된 주제도 말로 용어에 돈에 보여요. 어떻게 지고 또.
So this time, we did learn a lot about Buddhist philosophy or Buddhist science, and your time, your space, time-space concept, and many other things.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I really think this beginning, last several time discussion, Buddhist science and modern science, mainly Westerner, and few occasion Russians. Now the Chinese scientist, this is first time. So I'm hoping. So now this is just a beginning. You see, we carry discussion among the Chinese brothers, sisters, among the Chinese scientists, I think continuously. This reminds me, Karsa, they're not allowed to Karsa. Tsinghua Dasho, one professor. We first met in America, the Washington Karsa Tsogoti,
Brookings Institution.
Brookings Institution,
Brookings Institution.
which is some professors from China also. So one professor from Tsinghua Dasho. And when I was in Peking, I also visited Tsinghua Dasho. So since then, you see, we become very close friends. So many occasions he come. So then one occasion, you see, we make some kind of hostel, pledge,
No.
proposal, pledge.
Pledge, yeah.
Pledge. You see, in future, in his university, Tsinghua Dasho, you see, they're going to meet some kind of scientific meeting or something. So at that time, he going to send invitation to me, not Dalai Lama, not as a Dalai Lama, but scientist.
As a scientist.
So we already, you see, that kind of sort of thinking already there. So, but for the time being, you see, mainland China, no freedom, difficult. So only thing is professors or scientists from Taiwan. So eventually, I think there is possibility this kind of meeting in Taiwan, discuss. We'll say.
Yeah.
So in any way, I think now I think the right time. We must exploit the knowledge about mind, about emotion, which mentioned in Buddhist tradition. Really, I think worthwhile. Should not remain in the Buddhist text. And those Buddhist monks, they only carry prayer.
Chanting.
Kaza. Chanting. So now time come. Let them also more study. Then we can ask them.
Yes.
Otherwise, they simply carry chanting, no explanation. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we here few individual person, but we belongs a nation. Over billion population, and Taiwanese also is a part of Han, the Hanzo. So in many places, many parts of the world, also you say Han community there. So you are representing over billion sort of number of one human group, and traditionally Buddhist. So like Tibetan, see you Indian are guru of both Hans and Tibetan. Truly, you see we are student of the Nalanda tradition. As the first day I mentioned the very name of Lunsu Pusa, familiar. So there is real potential.
Yes.
Now here we are few people, but we are representing billions of people. Okay.
Yeah.
And that, not academic, but world passing through some kind of crisis of emotion. That emotion will not go away by prayer, but training our mind. In order to train our mind, we should have fuller knowledge about the whole system of our emotion and mind as an academic subject, not religious subject. Okay. Thank you.
So we will certainly welcome you in Taiwan, and we will initiate the continual discussion in Taiwan sometime.
Thank you. Now lunch, Marbe.
工作解答电脑。
等一下啊，你们等一下，我们那个。
大家哈达。手机提放包包，然后等下全部交给
你们是不是从？
等一下，我就一起跟尊者一起照相。
一起尊者一起照相。
Amy and Susan. Presenters can, if the presenters can come. Presenters, come inside. Let the presenters come. Can you step back? Let the presenters come. Can you step back? Can you come this side?
Thank you.
Tusen, tusen, tusen.